We did it with football, we did it with rugby league, and now it's time to react to my best mate's hottest MMA takes. I watch the UFC with these guys most weekends, and I've told a handful of them to send me their most controversial hot takes. So let's go and react to them. First up is my friend Callum, otherwise known as Carlos. He sent a take back when we did the football episode. So let's listen to what he has to say about MMA.
Hey Josh, this is my MMA hot take. I think that English MMA fighters, specifically UFC fighters, are the most overrated fighters in the game. Tom Aspinall is the only one that you can really count, and even then, that first round against Cyril Gane was not looking good for him. It wasn't the complete picture, but it wasn't looking good. Lerone Murphy, he's had a good run, but decision merchant and really got done by Evloev, who did not show any of his wrestling game in the first part of the fight. Michael Venom Page, I don't think I need to say any more than that. Absolute decision merchant who came into the UFC, was meant to be knocking people out. Leon Edwards, insane fall from grace. And Paddy Pimblett, who got a title, an interim title fight off the back of beating Michael Chandler. Not the first person to do it, but yeah, I really think compared to other countries, English MMA is a good amount behind.
Honestly, I like that take. He gave valid points for all the current, or at least all the big current British fighters in the UFC. The only British champion, as far as my knowledge goes, is Michael Bisping. And obviously he lost to a GSP who was coming back off, obviously, a long hiatus from the UFC. I really do like that take. I think Tom Aspinall's a bit of a question mark. Obviously, he's been a bit unfortunate with the hold-up with John Jones, defending his interim title, obviously beating Sergey Pavlovich for the interim title in the first place, and then the unfortunate eye gouge by Cyril Gane. I guess we'll see what happens when Pereira and Gane face on the White House card, and we'll see what the outcome of that is, and whether Tom Aspinall will verse the winner of that, or whether he even comes back to mixed martial arts at all. So, honestly, I do like that first take. Okay, now on to the next guest, who is the honorary co-host of the Check the Score podcast, Bailey. He sent us a football take back when we did that video, and now it's his time to showcase his MMA knowledge. Let's have a listen.
All right, Josh, my MMA hot take. I think you probably knew this was coming. Jose Aldo is the featherweight GOAT. And
here we go.
Higher all-time than Alexander Volkanovski.
We knew this was coming.
Okay? It's 9 title defenses to 6. All right, Aldo was getting wins in the UFC against ranked opponents 15 years after winning the title. Right, he also went to a split decision against Mario Bautista, which he lost narrowly. I mean, that's crazy. That's aged so well. For Volk to do the equivalent, he would need to be getting wins in 2034. All right, bonkers. Okay, and I think people underestimate some of Aldo's defenses. All right, when he beat Uriah Faber was literally the featherweight GOAT at the time. Nuts. And Aldo beat Frankie Edgar twice. That's a Max Holloway level win. All right, Frankie Edgar's a legend. So I think Australian fans just don't know their history, and they're blinded by Volk's greatness, and they don't realize how great Jose Aldo was. I do think he will be the GOAT soon and above him all time, but no, not yet.
Yeah, look, I knew this was coming. It was either going to be this or it was going to be a Demetrius Johnson take. I knew this was coming from Bailey. I disagree. I think that the 3 Holloway wins, obviously the 2 over Lopez, obviously they were quite comfortable, but the only 2 losses since he joined the UFC are probably 2 of the guys that are going to finish in the top 5 all time. I don't think that's a slight on him. Volk is currently ranked 3rd pound for pound in the UFC at the moment, and the only 2 guys above him are Islam and Ilya. So Volk beat Aldo. Volk beat Holloway 3 times. Volk beat Pettis. He has good wins at featherweight. Don't say that his resume doesn't stack up to Aldo's. Obviously, Aldo has some great wins. He lost to Holloway. Volk beat Holloway 3 times. Do I need to say anything more? But yeah, obviously Aldo's resume probably puts him in the top 10, top 15 conversation, but he does not beat out Volk for me. And a lot of fans, I reckon I could ask every single other person that sent in takes this video, and they'll agree with that they have Volk higher than Aldo. Is that an Aussie bias thing? I don't know. But I knew this was coming from Bailey. Okay, next we have my mate Harry. He sent us a take for the football video as well. Him and I are also going to the World Cup in a few weeks, so very, very exciting. A lot of content on the way there. But we also do love our MMA. So he has sent me his hottest MMA take.
My hot take is that the UFC should move the final weigh-in day to the day of the fight. I am overseeing these fighters walk up on stage looking like a skeleton, and some of them even passing out and ruining fight nights. I also think it's ridiculous that I'm watching, say, a fighter like Khamzat Chimaev, when he was back at welterweight, he would somehow manage to make the welterweight cut, but then by the time he's bloody at fight night, he's over the middleweight limit. Like, I think this is an insane, unfair advantage between two fighters. So in my opinion, if you move the final weigh-in day to the day of the fight, all fighters have to be at their natural fighting weight. You'd have a lot less crazy weight cuts. You'd have a lot less ridiculously massive fighters in the wrong divisions. Everybody would be in their right division. And I think the sport would be better for it.
I don't think that's a crazy thing to say. I think that's a good take. Yes, Khamzat Chimaev's a phenomenal example. Honestly, I think one of the things that lost him that Strickland fight was the drastic weight cut. Apparently, he was planning on moving up to 205 and then on short notice had to turn around to back to 185. He obviously previously fought at 170, which I know it's a classic Joe Rogan line, but how did he make that weight? Alex Pereira is another great example, 185 to 205. Now he's fighting at 265 at heavyweight. There's plenty of examples. The current one for me that I find the craziest is Michael Morales at welterweight. Sorry, that guy should be fighting at 185. Like I don't know how he makes 170. Like when he walked in the octagon next to Sean Brady, he towers over him. Like it's absolutely ridiculous. I think moving it to fight night will make fighters avoid, that drastic weight cut. You see the likes of Marab's a great example. When you see him take interviews after he's done his weigh-in, he looks like a corpse. There's so many fighters I could pinpoint. We saw a fighter earlier in the year, I think it was on the first card of the year, collapse on stage when he hit the scales. Like that is a concern. Like I know in boxing they have rehydration clauses and things like that. I think also another thing that doesn't help the UFC is the fact that there aren't as many weight classes as a sport like boxing. So maybe that's something that needs to be looked at. I think the 15-pound jump from welterweight to middleweight especially is a tough one. And then again, there's a 20-pound jump from middleweight to light heavy. So, I think a 195-pound division, or if you make welterweight 175 and add a 165, we've talked about this on the channel before. I think these things are quick solutions to what is a serious problem about fighters' weight, because sometimes it is a serious risk, especially when you're going in there to effectively try and hurt each other. So, yeah, great take from Harry. The next person that I have is my mate Oscar. He sent us probably the most controversial take for our NRL episode, where he picked Jacob Preston over Cameron Murray, which is downright ridiculous. But he has sent us a MMA take as well. Let's have a listen to what he had to say.
Dolidze and Vettori will be the most entertaining, most cinematic masterclass fight, the most techie fight we've probably seen in all of UFC history.
Damn straight. This guy knows ball. That is the fight we want. That is the White House headliner. That should be the International Fight Week headliner. We don't care about Conor. We don't care about Poatan. We don't care about Ilya. We don't care about Islam. We care about Dolidze versus Vettori. As I call it, Velidze. We need the trilogy. We need to see it. We've been begging for it. We're probably the biggest advocates on this podcast for it. We know what we want. Dana, give the fans what they want. Hunter Campbell, give the fans what they want. Velidze 3. Book it now. Phenomenal take. That's not a hot take. That's a cold take. But that's some brilliant stuff from Oscar. And for our final guest for today's Hot Takes episode, we have James. He was previously on the podcast for our White House predictions, us reacting to Strickland versus Khamzat. He hasn't been on for the NRL Hot Takes or the football Hot Takes, so I've let him send me a few. We have 3. We have 3 takes here, but they look like they're relatively short ones. So let's have a listen.
I think a bad striking match is worse than a bad wrestling dominant match. I will literally watch Khamzat versus Dricus over like Rose versus Sparza or Derek Lewis versus Francis, or even MVP's last fight, or the one before that. I literally think like Oliveira Holloway is more entertaining than that rubbish.
That's a good take. That, like, I seriously agree with him. I think we actually said this on the podcast previously when he was on last. But yeah, I totally agree with that. I think wrestling is such a intricate, and like you are constantly working when you're on the ground, especially whether it be wrestling or jiu-jitsu or other martial arts that involve some sort of grappling. Sambo is another one. But boxing, if you're standing there and just, playing defense effectively and not throwing, there's no output. Like, you're not really doing anything. At least, like, Oliveira Holloway is a great example. Like, they were constantly working, and Holloway, to his credit, as much as he did get smothered that fight, his defense to not get submitted by a guy like Charles Oliveira is always impressive. So I do rate that take a lot. Let's listen to the next one.
Everyone seems to forget his name, but I will never forget Bilal Muhammad's name. The GOAT.
Remember the name, Bilal Muhammad. Oh, people forget, bro. And then the final one, I can only imagine what this is going to be.
Marvin Vettori never wore his pants backwards. Everyone else has just done it the wrong way. He's the only one that's done it right. Plus best chin in the UFC.
Exactly. We need to see Marvin Vettori with his pants backwards again. Bro, he was not wearing them backwards. He was not. Oh my God. Yeah. Phenomenal. That is where we're going to leave it. Thank you everyone for listening to Check the Score podcast. We have one more video on the channel before I go away. There'll be no videos on here for probably just over a month. When I get back, I'm going to, go back in the think tank and think of some ideas and new things to bring on the show. But as always, thank you for listening to the podcast, and I'll see you in the next one.